What's up guys? I just wanted to quickly go over what this video is about. I know it's a bit longer than my usual videos, but Rocket League Insight is an idea I had to go over pros replays and kind of break down what their thinking might be during these games. And hopefully this gives you guys some insight on how much thought truly goes into the highest level of play. It's not really just about your mechanics or just how good you are. At this level, it really does come down to the thought process and how quickly you're able to think and react and make your decisions based on all the information that you get. So when we get into this video, hopefully this gives you guys a little bit of insight on how you should be thinking and the things that should be going through your head when you're playing. So let's get into it. So we start off with a really good read. Immediately after the kickoff, the ball pinches out to the wall, and we see Kronovi, who cheated up, putting himself in a position with only 34 boost. This ball is really high up. We see seconds, multiple seconds before this ball bounces, Kronovi's already in the air. He's already read how this ball is going to bounce, and he already knows where he needs to be in order to get this touch. So he's played this game so much that he's seen this bounce a million times, and he fully understands exactly how this bounce is going to come out, the speed of the ball, where it's going to end up, and how much boost he has in order to get up there. He knows that it's enough. And so we see this jump happening again seconds before the ball is up. He's boosting himself into a position using literally all of his boost and gets this angle directly towards the net. So he's able to jump and get up for this ball that's really high up in the air with only 34 boost. This is something that players definitely have to understand, is how much boost can get me how far. And it's not to say that he understands that 34 boost is exactly enough to get me up there, but he understands that he has enough boost to get up for this ball, because he knows exactly how to control his car, how to manage his boost, how to manage his speed. One thing we see out of Kronovi in this situation is the patience game. Especially in solo queue, he's not really partied up with anybody on his team, and so there's no form of communication other than quick chat or your car's positioning to tell people what you're going to be doing. And so here, instead of just blindly going up for this, he sees that he has a teammate on his left that's in front of him. Because his teammate's in front of him, he knows that his teammate most likely has ball camera on, and even if he didn't, because Kronovi's behind this player, he knows that, he can't see him, but Kronovi can see him, and so he stays back, he stays patient. He knows that this player is most likely going to go for this ball, and even if you think a player is going to go for a ball and either miss or get a poor touch, you shouldn't be committing with them, right? A lot of players will think, well, I had the better angle, I had the better touch, I'm the one who's supposed to go for it, and what this creates is that double commit. And what ends up happening more often than not is, because there's two of you up for this, the touch that you were initially planning, the touch that you intended, either it gets pinched or you guys bump each other, or even if you do get that touch that you intended, you touch it way upfield, and now both of you guys are in this position, and it puts your teammate essentially in a 1v3. And if he doesn't do something with this ball well, then the both of you guys are in the same position, both recovering. You both just used a lot of boost, and instead of doing this, it's much more beneficial to just allow your teammate to go up, and even if you don't think they've got the best angle, just allow them to make that mistake. And this is what we see Kronovi doing. He puts himself in a position to essentially clean up for that mistake. And so here he's positioning out to the right, because right now it looks like they're going to make contact and send this ball to the right. And also if they don't, if this ball just completely misses the both of them, he's putting himself in a position to now make a decision to where he could turn back or turn forward and go for either option. Once both of these players miss, now he has this free possession in the corner. And again, instead of just hitting this ball immediately, we see him take control and then go for a follow-up touch, attempting to beat the opponent. Here we see an insanely fast recovery. So this ball gets thrown up over the top of Kronovi. His teammate Kings leaves his field of view out here over on the left. And so the last he saw of Kings was upfield, running back. And so it's likely that this ball is Kronovi's to save. So again, here we see another very mechanically intensive move where he's shifting his direction and momentum in the air. And this is not easy to do. Most players do try to set up their aerials before they take off the ground. But in this instance, it's near impossible for Kronovi to be able to set himself up properly. And so again, because he has that control of his car, he has an understanding of how much boost he needs to use. He understands how quickly this ball is moving. We can see here how quickly his decision is made to go up. And now we can see that flight path that he takes, where he has to now rotate his car around and start pushing himself at this ball. and make an attempted touch. Here, unfortunately, his teammate Kings also does the same thing, and they bump this, they pinch this ball, and Kronovi gets bumped to the backboard. And this is actually where it's very fortunate for Kronovi, because his teammate bumps into this back wall. He's now able to notice how quickly he realizes that he was bumped to this back wall. The moment that he's landing, he's immediately taking off and instantly flying back towards this ball, because he just realized, okay, my teammate went up with me, we double committed, we both ended up in this position. Now the ball's floating in front of our net. He gets bumped to the backboard, and the second he lands, he immediately takes off, and he's now already flying towards this ball. He saved his second jump, so that now he saved his dodge, and now that he's underneath this ball, as the ball's falling, we all know that when you flip, you cannot move up or down, and so he remains the same elevation. This ball falls into him, and he's able to get this touch out, all because he instantaneously reacted and understood exactly how he was going to land on the wall, all because he knew that they just double committed and that he had to immediately make the next touch. So we see here what he does actually is a flip cancel, and the reason that he does this flip cancel right here is because if he just does a normal front flip or a normal diagonal front flip and doesn't cancel any of it, it's very likely that the underside of his car here is going to make contact during the flip. And so he does this flip cancel simply so that when he flips forward here, he can keep the top of his car in line with this ball so that the top of his car makes contact. And that's what we end up seeing. And because of that, the ball now gets sent upfield. This next part is very fortunate. The opponent hits the ball right into Kronovi, makes a touch, and notice again how he immediately has recovered. He lands, and before trying to reorient, before trying to turn, he immediately power slides and then goes for a half flip to recover towards this ball. And now he's the first person to it, gets an amazing pass out, and they take a shot on the open net. And then we see him here jumping, right? Because this opponent could possibly come in for the demolish. He knows that Kronovi's trying to get this boost. And so if he knows that, he knows he can meet them here. And so what Kronovi does is he jumps through this boost in the off chance that DT would have gotten the, because he jumps for this boost, he lands higher up on the backboard. And notice he's boosting immediately after he picked up that boost. He knew he was going to get it as he jumped through it. And he's able to flip out from behind this ball. And he sees the defender here on the inside of the net coming on this inside line. And so what he does is he pushes this out to his teammate behind the defender. Because of this, they're able to score this open net. Here we see for a split second, Kronovi ends up underneath this play. And instead of just immediately making his decision with the information he has, which is not a lot, because when you're underneath the play, you can really only look up at the ball. Pay attention to how he moves his right stick to check and see who's behind him, right? He's checking and seeing what's going on over here. Because if this ball is getting challenged by one of his teammates, which it is, he knows that he can stay upfield and receive a pass from them. And if he looks back here and he sees both of his teammates are grounded and neither of them is going up for this ball, then he knows he needs to immediately start rotating back. He looks behind him here to get the information that he needs to make his decision based off of what's happening with the play. Because if he just looks up at the ball here, he can't see what's happening on the field. And when he makes his decision, let's say he decides to stay up and his teammates weren't going for this ball, it's very possible that they've now made a pass into open space where Kronovi could have been, and he rotated back. But in this instance, we see him stay up. Sleppy goes up for the ball, and he's now in a position to give his teammate an option. And sometimes it's not about being there and actually being a part of the play, as in making a touch on the ball. Sometimes it's just about being a presence. And we can see from Sleppy's point of view, when he's going up for this ball, he sees Kronovi over here, he sees he has the option, and now Spider Wombat on the defense sees this option as well. And so now Spider Wombat's thinking, I have to position myself to cover not only a backboard double touch, but I also need to make sure that if this pass comes, I'm properly in a position to do something about it. Such an amazing pass here. So we see this pop come from Kronovi, and this happens off of a lot of kickoffs. We see a back right kickoff or a back left where the back defender gets the ball. And a lot of players will pop this ball up and immediately go for a double touch, a flip reset, an air dribble, something with a solo play. But in this instance, we see Kronovi go up for this ball. He then sees Chaotic go up for the same ball as well. And so notice what he does with his car. He air rolls it to the left and tries to get on the right side of this ball. And this is because he knows Chaotic's path is coming across this way. And because Chaotic's in the air, he can't really shift his momentum very quickly. And so Kronovi's now thinking, how can I get this ball behind my opponent? Because he's got this path, I know that no matter what happens, he's going to go on this side of the ball. So how can I get this behind him? So we see that air roll from Kronovi. He's held on to his second jump here. He knows it doesn't matter how high he gets, it's all about how long it takes him to get there. And because he gets there so quickly, he's able to save his flip and use that to get it behind that defender. And they actually end up scoring. This is all a result of Kronovi's pass, right? He creates this opening. This pass puts it around the second defender, so now he's effectively beaten 2 people, this guy in the air and the first guy on the ground, and Sleppy then beats the third person, and they score on the essentially an open net. There was 2 people in there, but because the play happened the way it did, they were able to create that opening and get that goal. So we see a lot of patience from Kronovi here. The reason being, he knows that if Chaotic comes down off this wall and touches this ball off the bounce, that he can get a very large clear. And so Kronovi stays back, gives him the space and respects that touch. Because if he full on commits here, there's nobody behind him. He knows that he's the only person on the right side of the field. And so right now it's his job to cover this zone. And if he doesn't cover this zone, the ball gets cleared out into this open space. And his teammates put in a really, really bad position to try and make sure they don't get scored on here. So Kronovi does very, very well. He plays it very patiently, and effectively by playing it so patiently, he essentially cuts off all of this player's options, right? He's sitting in a position to where if this player hits it this way, Kronovi's there to stop it. If he then hits it this way to get it away from Kronovi, Kings is there to stop it. If he goes for this dribble, Kronovi's put himself in a position to immediately challenge the dribble and force the opponent to then again make a quick decision. So Kronovi's positioning here essentially cuts off as many possible options as he can. And then we see this this flip into the ball here. There's a flip cancel involved here, and again, a lot of players just think that flip cancels add power naturally, and this isn't the case. The reason that we see him doing this flip cancel is because when he goes to make contact on this ball, he's very far away from it. And if he just were to flip, what ends up happening is his nose is going to rotate around this way and back this way, and by the time he gets to the ball, and the ball's probably going to end up being here, he's now flipped into the ball in a way that his nose is now not really pointing at the ball, and so he's going to get a very soft touch. And so we see here what he does is he does this very delayed flip where he slows his nose down. And so here we see the flip come out, and we see that his nose now rotates a lot slower, and because of this he's able to make contact on the ball where he wants to and transfer all the power from the back end of his hitbox to the front end and send more momentum through this ball to get a much stronger pass here. So here we see him moving up on a ball that he cannot get to, and the reason that he continues to move up for this ball is again not because that he's going to make a touch and quote unquote be a part of the play, but he's moving up here because what he's doing by moving up is he's forcing Deity to go for this ball sooner. This pass comes down and he sees now Kronovi is pushing up, and so if Kronovi wasn't pushing up here, Deity might think I've got more time, I can make my decision slower, I can analyze what's going on and make my decision based off the information I have. But Kronovi, by just pushing up and being a presence here, he's pushing up saying, look, if you don't go for this ball now, I'm going to make you regret it. And so just by moving up and being a presence, he's forced a play out of Deity. And now because he knows that just moving forward and just being a presence is enough to cause a change in the play, he stays on the ground and he can immediately rotate back. Sometimes it's important to just be a presence, not necessarily touch the ball. Here we see him going up for a ball that he doesn't really have the ability to score. What he does here is you'll notice how he slows his boost down. Right now, he knows that this wall is right here. He knows that he's going to make a touch on this ball. And so what he does is he touches this ball in a way that as he's flying past it, he's dropping it down for himself to land and immediately follow up for a shot. He's thought this through. He's in this moment, he's able to think about how can I keep possession of this ball? And so what he does is he makes a very soft touch, and it passes the ball down in front of himself. He immediately lands on the wall, and notice how he's now boosting before he lands. This is because, again, he's predetermined that he's going to do this. This is something that he's thought out already. And so he lands and immediately recovers down to get under the ball as it bounces and take this shot on net. And this is something that results in a goal for them, and it's because of this decision right here to immediately know, okay, my teammate got the demolish over in the corner, there's only one person in net, my teammate's rotating out, I don't have a teammate midfield, what can I do with this ball to keep possession? Okay, the wall is right here, I'm going to fly into this wall, let me make a touch on this ball that's going to allow me to land on this wall and immediately follow up that initial touch. So right here we actually see Kronovi make a very important decision. He's going in here to challenge this ball in the corner, and he notices Fireburner off to his right, who's also coming to challenge. Once he sees Fireburner and realizes that Fireburner has not only a better angle, but also is probably going to beat him to this ball, he now makes the decision to, instead of fully committing to this ball still, and just hoping that he can get to it first, which a lot of players will do, they'll go in and they'll dive in because they've already committed a lot of boost, they've already started building momentum in this direction. But one thing that Kronovi does is he realizes this is happening, and in a split second makes the decision to turn off of this ball and put himself in a better position to deal with whatever outcome comes from Fireburner's touch. And so we see here, he pushes up and turns around, and what ends up happening is Fireburner misses, but we don't know this is going to happen beforehand, and neither does Kronovi. He doesn't know that Fireburner is going to miss this, and so he positions himself to cover as many possible outcomes as he can here. Fireburner is most likely going to beat him to this, and so instead of fully committing, he turns around here, and he puts himself in a position to essentially receive any type of clear that Fireburner does end up getting, or if Fireburner decides he wants to take this up the wall, Kronovi's still in a really good position to shadow and move up and cut off Fireburner's dribble, and we see Fireburner miss here, and this is when Kronovi decides to immediately turn back around and start applying pressure. We don't want to give Fireburner time in the corner to do whatever he'd like. He's in an uncomfortable situation. He just missed the ball, and he just threw himself into the wall here, and Kronovi's trying to make him recover as quickly as he can, because the quicker he's forcing Fireburner to make a decision here, the less time Fireburner is going to have, the more likely it is for Fireburner to then make a mistake, because he sees that Kronovi's coming in to challenge him and Kronovi's applying this pressure. So I want you guys to notice one thing that happens here. Directly after Kronovi gets demolished and he respawns, what a lot of players will do is they'll immediately look for that corner boost. They'll spawn and they'll look for whatever corner boost is nearest them. The reason we see Kronovi not doing this is because he spawns underneath the play. When you spawn underneath the play, it's more beneficial to really get out and get out from underneath the play, and what this allows your team to do is now move in. Right, because if we see Kronovi turn and go for this boost, now not only is he in the way of Chicago, but when Corrupted G goes to take this ball upfield, if he does, or if Chicago goes to take this ball upfield, he's now putting himself in a position to where he can't receive any type of pass in the midfield. And so what he does is he spawns, he's got 33 boost, and he immediately moves over these two pads and starts to push upfield and put himself in such a really good position to receive a pass from the defensive clear. And now this is just one way that he's creating an option in the midfield for his team to keep possession. That's the most important thing in Rocket League, is making sure that you're always giving your team as many opportunities as you possibly can to keep possession. The more possession you have, the more likely you are to score in the long run. Now we see again here another instance where Kronovi's taking a lot of control of this ball, right? The ball's flying, it's got a lot of speed to it, it's going to bounce, and a lot of players will think this is a perfect opportunity to get a huge clear upfield. Now the reason we see Kronovi not doing this again is because we see both of his teammates. One teammate is recovering, one teammate is still back. He's got two opponents in front of him covering the net, and so instead of just hitting this ball upfield, which is essentially giving possession to the opponents, we see him take this ball up the wall with a catch. Now the way that he catches this is very important. He doesn't just drive underneath this and hit it towards the wall and catch it. He catches this on the corner, and what this allows the ball to do is now that the ball's coming down, because he's catching this on the corner, his car is starting to tilt upwards, and so when the ball makes contact on his hood, because he's got speed going into this ball and now up this curve, this touch is now going to throw the ball up the wall as he himself goes up the wall and ends up right behind it. The reason that he does the rotations that he does here, he does this because he needs to be able to stay on this line in order to get on this side of the ball, but he also needs to rotate his car in a way that when he does end up here on this side of the ball, he's able to flip sideways into this ball, which essentially is going to touch the ball around here and hopefully throw the ball down to Chicago, who can then take a shot on the net. But these rotations were very important because this allowed him to stay on this line and boost up next to this ball where he needed to, also while in the process rotating his car in the proper direction to now be able to flip into this ball and get the type of touch that he's looking for. Now we see Kronovi go to the backboard in this situation, and there's a few reasons why. So Chicago goes for this save, and he's forced to. He has to make a really tough save here, and he does, and the ball now pinches up into the air, where Garrett can go up the wall and get to this, or possibly follow it up, put it midfield. But essentially this ball is going where Garrett can possess it. And then we see Kronovi look for this boost, and what ends up happening is Garrett takes it. Now because Garrett takes this boost, Kronovi is now in a situation with very low boost, and the ball is floating in front of his net. And so we just saw Chicago go for that last ditch effort save, and he makes it, and now he's recovering in the net. And so what Kronovi does here, because he's low on boost, he now goes to the backboard. And what this does for him is he's now able, without much boost at all, to cut off most of the top side of the net here. We see Garrett coming in to make a play on this ball. And with Kronovi being on the wall here, he now doesn't have to use any boost to get up if Garrett's touch is a little bit higher than Kronovi. So now he's on the backboard with very little boost. He's able to immediately jump off the wall and already have the height. And so he's able to use that boost to generate speed. Even though he's at very little boost, because he's on the wall, he doesn't have to worry about getting height on his jump. Now all he has to worry about is getting speed, and 9 boost will give you that if you jump off the wall, boost towards the ball and flip into it. But now, not only is he covering all of this in case Garrett tries to take a shot with Crow being on low boost, he's also in a position to now cover anything that comes to this backboard, right? He's covering somewhere that Chicago can't. Chicago needs to stay in this net because he's very weary of a pass coming middle with Fireburner being here. And so Chicago's main focus is making sure that he doesn't get beat really in this area. And so what Kronovi is doing is, by being here, he's releasing or relieving a lot of pressure off of Chicago. And now Chicago can really just focus on these 2 options because he knows that his teammate Kronovi has this area covered. So we see these spins here from Kronovi, and again, this is necessary. So we see with this ball being as high as it is in front of him, coming towards him, and Kronovi facing this way, we notice that when he takes off, he doesn't boost until now he's in a position to where his boost is going to push him upwards. And what he does with this rotation is he essentially pushes himself back. He needs to get back a little bit and get back behind the ball, and so he can push momentum through the ball going the direction he wants. So we see a very nice goal resulting from a pressure play from Kronovi. When this ball gets pushed upfield, we see Chicago in the corner, and we just saw Corrupted G rotating around behind Kronovi. So now Kronovi knows that, okay, I've got one person behind me, we have one person up front. If I dive in and apply pressure here, and I do not make contact, then Corrupted G is behind me. He can come in and save me because I haven't made a mistake. What I've done is I've forced the opponent to throw possession away. And so that's one of the options that's going through his head, is if I go in and dive for this and I miss, then I have Corrupted G to make sure that it doesn't result in a goal for us and we can continue applying pressure. Now if I come in here and commit and I don't miss, now I have the possibility of directly scoring this off of a dunk. I have the possibility of a 50-50 occurring, and now Chicago's here, he can apply pressure and maybe take a shot. Or even if it, 50-50 is out this way, with Garrett being here, Kronovi's still close enough to continue applying pressure. Or he, dives in, makes a challenge, and this goes off the backboard, and Corrupted G can swing around and make the goal here, which is actually what ends up happening. But this is all the things that are going through Kronovi's head here, is what are all the possible outcomes? And now that he's seen all the possible outcomes and he's kind of visualized them, he now knows that every single outcome from this challenge here results in something positive for his team. There's a lot of mechanical skill that goes into this. And so this is not an unintentional touch from Kronovi at all, the way that he touches this ball. So I want you guys to pay attention to the way that he rolls his car. What he's doing here is he's tilts back. What this allows him to do is now slow himself down. He's realizing that he's kind of overshot this, and so he tilts back so he can slow himself down. Now that he's slowed himself down, he's realizing I can't tilt forward in time to get a touch on this ball towards the net the way that I want to. But one thing that I can do is I can continue tilting back and start rolling this way, air rolling this way, and it's going to put me in a position to where my tail is going to make contact here, which is exactly what ends up happening. Now that he gets this position where he knows that his tail can make contact, he flips the way that he does because he knows that that flip is then going to push his tail out into this ball and make contact at the perfect spot on this ball as it flies by him, and it's just going to redirect straight into the net here. I want to give a special thanks to Kronovi for sending me the footage and letting me analyze his gameplay. If you guys don't already, make sure that you're following him on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. He has a lot of content, and it's always helpful to watch somebody better than you. If you enjoyed this video and want to see your own gameplay analyzed, I have a spot on Gamers Ready where you can book a one-on-one session with me, and we can focus on things that you need to improve on. Make sure to subscribe, turn notifications on, and hit that thumbs up button if you want to see more content like this. Leave a comment down below with video suggestions, something that you'd like to see in the future. As always, thank you guys for watching.